Record. Boom. Welcome everybody. Like I said, before I introduce our special guest, Mr. Kenny Ryan, I'm going to jump into a little bit about Project Hockey and what we do and how we do things. So I'm going to share my screen. If you're not looking at your screen, make sure you're checking it out. Those of you that are with us all the time, bear with us. We're just going to we have about 7 or 8 new people here today, and people are just funneling in right now. I'm going to share my screen. And then we are going to chat a little bit. Let's see. Murphy, can you see my screen? You guys see all right? Cool. Got a few more people jumping in. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Project Hockey. Our whole goal of Project Hockey is one thing only, is to leave the game of hockey better than we found it. So we're super excited to have you guys and gals here tonight for a little Q&A with Kenny Ryan, former professional hockey player and now turned family advisor / agent. So I'm going to run through this. Project Hockey, what we do, we're a daily at-home development program where we have a whole community, just like Facebook, where you can have a profile, you can do all those cool things online. We work on mindset stuff. We have hockey IQ. We've got skill set sessions and development tracking. Hockey is such a tough game as it is, and if you're not competing, if you're not training, then you got to make sure that you're just putting in that work. And so that's what we're all about, right? And so at Project Hockey, we have all these extra things. I'm not saying hockey, but I am saying that if you want to be good at it, you got to put the work in. And so a few things that we have in our program are like these Zoom calls, right? We've had Teddy Bluger on, Connor Garland on, Thatcher Demko is coming on down the road. We got Kenny Ryan tonight. And so we have all these awesome hockey players who are always willing to come on and chat with you guys and girls, because that's how you leave the game of hockey better than you found it. You help people and you help them get to the next level. Like I said, we're a community, right? So this is what our app looks like. So for $19.99, you get access to our app. We do have a 7-day free trial, and every single day there's a practice plan in there for you to get better at home. You're going to get notifications just like you would on Facebook. You can add each other as friends just like you would on Facebook. It's a really unique way for the hockey community to come together and not get sucked into Instagram or different things like that. It's a way for the hockey community to come together and really just get better and support each other. Mindset stuff, we have those every single week where, again, you press play.
What's up, Project Hockey?
Won't have you sit through the video. That's Lauren Williams. She's taken our class through a mindset challenge that day, working on goal setting. We've got hockey IQ lessons where the player clicks play.
This video is taking a look at how elite players turn nothing plays into 2-on-1s and create score.
We've got hockey IQ. Because I want to stress this more than anything, then I'll move faster the rest of this, but we're a daily development program, meaning every single day you log in, there is a new practice plan for your player to complete, to get better at, and to work on. And so if you have a question on something in our app, like if you're like, oh, I don't know what the warm-up means, you click on this, boom, it takes you to all those demo videos. Same thing here, right? If you're like, oh, I don't know what the strength session is, click on this button and it takes you all those demo videos. So it's built in, so the players don't have any questions on what to do or how to do it. It's right there for them, and they're able to learn and get better and develop and become a better hockey player. Skill set sessions. The athlete just scrolls down, presses play.
What's going on?
Boom. And then it'll play for them. It'll show them the skill to do. It'll show them what to work on. And if you notice here in my screenshot, all I have is a stick and a ball, and that's all you need. So you don't need a ton of fancy equipment. You just need a stick and a ball and what you have around the house to get better at hockey. And now that we can start working with NCAA athletes, we've got about 30 or so that are going to start working with us, creating awesome content. So it'd be pretty cool to be coached by, someone who plays at a high level, such as college hockey. And then another thing we do is daily challenges where the player is able to track their development, right? So the cool part is you can log your results. So they log their challenge. And let's say this challenge takes them 8 minutes and 33 seconds. The cool part is they can click save up here at the top. And then boom, they save their challenge. And it will eventually, boom, shoot off some confetti in your face and let you know if you did better. And so our challenges are tracked. And so you're able to say, okay, last month I did this challenge in 8 minutes and 33 seconds. This month I did it in 8 minutes and 20 seconds. We got 2 screens going there with Murphy. I love it. Red Wings fan.
What's up, hockey world?
Goalies.
This is Coach Evan Campbell's project.
We got goalies on here. I won't have you sit through the goalie promo video, but understand that everything we have for players, we have for goalies as well. And so we're super excited and proud of the program we have. But again, the cool part about our program is that you don't need all that fancy equipment. You simply need what you have at the house, and then you have a plan from us that you can work with every single day, from everything from mindset to hockey IQ to skill set sessions to some other really cool, phenomenal things to special guests like Mr. Kenny Ryan. And it's just it's a fun way. And like I said, it's pretty special to be a part of the Project Hockey world. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Mr. Kenny Ryan. He was drafted in the 2nd round, 50th overall in the 2009 NHL entry draft. He is from Michigan. He played for the U.S. national program and then made his way to the OHL, where he played for the Windsor Spitfires. And from there, he played pro hockey for a number of different years, playing in the AHL and the East Coast, and then ended over in Switzerland. Where'd you play at the end? Was it Switzerland?
Yep, Switzerland.
And so he is on here today to talk to you guys and gals about a ton of different things. And basically, he played at the pro level. He played at the highest level of junior hockey, and he's got a lot of knowledge about the game. Trust me, I've been around this guy for over a year now, and it's been awesome to learn from him and following him on Instagram and other social channels with what he's doing and how he's doing it. Works a lot with Rolston and the Rolston Hockey Academy in Michigan. And so tons of different knowledge that this guy brings to the table. He's also making his way into the family advising and agency world, which can honestly, for me, when I was coming up, is very scary and uncharted and just didn't know about what it was going on. And so I wish I would have had someone that I could trust and go to and talk to that was in that world and could help me along the way. And so luckily now Kenny is here to help answer any of those questions. And so without further ado, Kenny Ryan, thanks for coming on today. We appreciate you coming on and appreciate having you.
I appreciate the nice introduction there. It's nice to catch up and see everybody on here. And my kind of goal through doing this, as we spoke about, is just to help inform some of the players or parents and families that are on here about kind of what that role should look like and what an advisor and an agent, what the differences are, and just answer any questions that there may be, and hopefully provide some knowledge through doing this.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you coming on. Let's have right now, if you're in there and you're wondering if you have any questions, let's start throwing those in the chat, and I will get to as many as I can. But understand we're not going to be able to get to all of them. But if you have questions about hockey in general, if you have questions about, what the agency side is and the family advising side, parents, guardians, if you're on here too, please ask away. But let's start dropping those in the chat. While they're doing that, Kenny, would you mind? I know I kind of went over the Cliff Note version, but would you mind kind of going through your hockey career and where you played and, just kind of running through that?
Yeah. So I grew up living in Detroit. Grew up playing my youth hockey for Detroit Honeybakes. And then I was fortunate enough to play for the U.S. national program that was out of Ann Arbor at the time, NTDP. From there, I was drafted by the Toronto Maple Leafs. Went and played at Boston College for a little bit. I ended up leaving there to go play for the Windsor Spitfires in the OHL. And then I started my 8-year professional career in Toronto, bounced around in the AHL, a little bit in the ECHL, and then finished over in Europe. After I stopped playing, I started working in Detroit with Brian Ralston at a hockey academy he has there. And, doing a lot of on-ice training, skill development, player development, working with NHL and AHL players. And then I got in touch with a guy by the name of Michael O'Rafferty, who started Kaizen Sports. He prides himself on being the player development agency where, they're actively working with the player and the families, doing video breakdown. We have a guy that we work with who works with the Toronto Maple Leafs, who helps all of the, the kids or the players that we're working with. And it's been really great. And the biggest thing that we really put a focus on this side of it is there has to be trust in a relationship. You have to build a relationship with the kid, with the family. And we just want to be kind of an extension of your family. We want to help you help to provide information so you can make educated decisions about your career. We're not here to make decisions for you. We're here to help you make educated ones. And the name Kaizen, I don't know if anybody does know what that means, but it's a Japanese term. There's actually no word in the English language that means the same thing, but it's change for the better. Continual improvement on a day-to-day basis. And that's what we try to do, is we try to work with our players, provide information, whether it's a video, phone calls, whatever it may be, and just having a relationship, somebody that's different than your parents, your coaches, and somebody in your corner that's just trying to help you along on your path.
I love that. I did not know. I was going to ask you what that meant.
Yeah.
Honestly, I figured it's like a last name or something, but that's
Yeah.
a way cooler story. Cool. And so we're getting some good questions in here. As you're kind of thinking about your questions, I want you to think about like the world that Kenny's going into, right? Like the agency world and the family advising world. And so I guess to kick it off, like, would you be able to educate us a little bit on just like what is a family advisor? And I know you talked about like to help you make decisions and stuff.
Yeah.
But exactly what is it? And if you could just kind of explain that a little bit.
Yeah. So it's a pretty widespread business, I guess I'd say. To be an advisor, there's no rules. If I'm being honest here, anybody can be a family advisor. But the great thing through Kaizen and Michael Rafferty, who started this business, is he is certified by the NHLPA, meaning he is certified to have conversations with NHL teams, to contract negotiations, whatever it may be. Now, family advisors, that can be anybody, right? That can be your coach that you grew up with that wants to represent you, or there's a lot of different things that it could be. Now, when it comes to family advisor versus agent, recently there's been a lot of changes with name, image, and likeness with college athletes, and it's still pretty uncertain. You've heard a lot of different companies reaching out for sponsorships and things like that with college athletes, but when a athlete makes a decision to go play, let's say major junior, WHL, OHL, Quebec League, whatever it may be, you can now fall underneath the term agent. And that is because you are, receiving a small paycheck every 2 weeks to play junior hockey. When you go to college, if you accept money in that form, you're receiving gifts, right? So the term agent compared to family advisor, the services through what we do through Kaizen are the exact same, right? We're still doing everything. We're having conversations, Zoom calls, going to games, all of that. But when you're an agent, it can get mixed up when it comes to where you are with college eligibility. So, I mean, I'm rambling on here, but an agent and a family advisor are the same thing. And the terms, when it comes to the NCAA and what they approve, the wording, can get mixed up there. And then along with that, the NCAA has started auditing agencies to make sure that, players are not getting gifted services. There's a couple examples that we have of, not through our own past clients, but clients that we've heard of that have had to sit out full years because they, were misinformed, or they received a meal at a camp, and through NCAA rules they weren't allowed to. So there's a great value, I believe, especially as kids are entering those years of decisions, moving home, playing prep school, playing junior, what route to go, that if you don't have all the information, or you don't have somebody that you have a relationship with, that you trust, that can really help you along with that process. There's a lot of factors that can, pop up.
For sure. Yeah, I would agree, and I appreciate kind of taking the time to do that. We'll kind of jump back and forth from like your hockey playing day
Yeah.
question to, and then back to the family advising thing. But Hannah McDonald, she asked, how do you stay? So maybe back when you were playing, how do you stay determined and motivated to do the work and stick to your routine every day?
So that's a good question. As best athletes in the world, right? Everybody's self-motivated. And that's, I think, the biggest thing is having that drive and passion and love to want to be the best, or to want to just figure out how can you maximize your potential. Everybody's potential is different. You compared to the next person, you're going to have different results. But are you waking up every day trying to get better? I mean, that's kind of like what you do with Project Hockey, right? You're putting in the work to get better consistently. And I think that's the biggest thing is, being motivated. It can be tough, but if you love it and you want to continue down that path, and you want to be a hockey player, and you want to get the most out of yourself, right? You have to be determined, and you have to be motivated, and it's fun. It's fun as well, right? Like, it's when you're scoring goals or you're having fun throughout the season with your teammates, that's the fun time. The hard times in the summer, where you're not at the rink as much and you're working out and you're training, right? So it's just finding those areas in the game that keep you interested and keep you motivated and driven.
For sure. Absolutely. Okay, this is a great question. Mason family asked this, and we can take as much or as little time as we want, but how do you determine who is a good advisor versus one looking for a buck?
Absolutely. I think that's a great question, because they're kind of going back to what I was saying. There's a lot of them out there. I think one of the big things is, like I've mentioned, do you have a relationship with that person? Do you trust that person? Like, it sounds corny, but it's the players, I hope to represent are players where I hope through years of working with them, I'm somebody who's at their wedding someday. You build that type of relationship with them. And for me, the reason why I got kind of into this side of it was when I was growing up and playing, I had a great agent. He was a great person, but on the day to day and the development, year to year of where I was, looking back on it, I don't think it was really a thing. The skill development, I think that's really come on lately. And what we pride ourselves on is really actively helping players and be a different voice and providing different information. So to go back to that question though, do you have a relationship with that person? Do you trust them? It's kind of like the old gut question, like, does it feel right? And I think a lot of families and sometimes they can get kind of trapped in the, oh my gosh, I've been approached by an agent, somebody wants to represent my son. Where are you in your playing career, right? Is it something that you really need? And I would encourage you to go speak with different agencies, go speak with different family advisors, ask that advisor, can I have a contact of 2 or 3 of the players that you represent, and reach out to them or their families and ask, how is your relationship? How have they treated you? How are they helping you? What are some of the things that they've delivered on? Because I think you can learn a lot from that, hearing a player that, somebody that we're actively working with, because they're going to give you the real answer, right? And the great thing about doing this is, if you're respectable and you care about the player, because that's why we do it, right? I'm hoping that a family can trust in me to help their son or daughter move forward in their career, and that's a big responsibility. And it's something myself and at Kaizen we don't take lightly.
Well said. Well said. Here's a quicker question. How much ice time is too much for kids that are 12 years old? Some say specific numbers of hours, some say every player is different. Do you have any thoughts on that? Like how much ice time 12-year-olds should be getting?
Yeah, I actually did a little interview a while ago with a guy named Mark Fitzgerald, who he was the strength coach for the Maple Leafs and the Anaheim Ducks. And we talked a little bit about it. And he's somebody whose opinion I really value. And, you know, everybody trains differently. Everybody's gonna have their own philosophies. What's right and what's wrong, I don't have all the answers. But when I was listening to him, it was just very interesting to hear his philosophy, right? Like, talking about a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old. And he used the example of had it was either a parent or a coach came up to him and asked him, I coached the 10-year-old team, and we wanted to know if we could start doing some workouts once or twice a week, and some good plyometrics, explosive stuff. And he looked at him and sorry, the guy asked how much it would cost. And his response was, well, you could probably go and play 3-on-3 basketball and have a tournament outside for free, because you're going to still work on just a kid being athletic. They're going to work on different muscles. It's going to be different type of plyometrics. And at that young age, I feel like when I was growing up, end of April, I didn't touch my hockey bag until middle of August again, right? I was swimming in the pool, having fun, and just being a kid, because I think that's so important as well. And I think kind of recently in years, hockey has really started to become a year-round thing for young kids. They're playing on their spring teams, then they have their tournament teams, and then in the summer they have, I mean, I heard a kid the other day, he's got 9 weekends of showcases, camps, training, whatever it may be. And I think there's value in getting away from the game and wanting, to get that itch of hockey season's around the corner. So is there a perfect answer? I don't know. But I do know at a young age, being a kid, having friends outside of your hockey team, is just as important, in a different route or a different way.
For sure. You don't really know how much you miss something until you don't have it, right? Like, and I think COVID, and I know COVID was terrible, but I think it gave a lot of hockey players the passion for hockey again, because it got ripped away from them. So yes, it was terrible and I wish it never happened, but I also think a lot of kids and hockey players in general are going to benefit from missing it and having it ripped away and saying, okay, I can't really take this for granted. So I would
And with that one being said too, like, for the kids that are training and are skating every day, I don't think there's anything wrong with that,
Mhm.
as long as you're being smart about it, right? You're like, rest and recovery. I mean, what is that to a 10-year-old, right? Like, you have so much energy. They want to be skating all the time. They want to be shooting pucks. I think that's great. But are you also, what are you stretching, right? Like, I mean, a kid that skates year round at the age of 8, 11 months out of the year, when he's 20 years old, how are his hips going to be? What is his flexibility and his range of motion for when it really matters, right? And I used to always say, I don't want the kids that I work with to be good at 10 years old, 12 years old, 14 years old, but I want to help try and give them the tools and the resources to give them the foundation at those ages to be successful at 16, 18, 20.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Kind of building off that, going back to the family advising thing, Brian asked, my boys are 10 and 12. How much, well, they asked how much hockey is too much. We kind of talked about that, but how much would a family advisor, like, what's the average age a hockey player usually gets a family advisor?
So I think it all depends, on the individual, right? I mean, you could have a kid that lives in, um, somewhere in North America that maybe hockey isn't a really big thing, but he's a great hockey player and he needs more exposure and needs help getting onto a different team, and maybe has to move away at a younger age if they go, that path. Now, in my eyes, I think it's getting younger and younger, which is unfortunate. If I'm being honest, like, when I committed to Boston College, I got my offer 8th grade of, I was in 8th grade Thanksgiving. I was super young. And what I wanted to do 4 or 5 years later, did I know? I didn't, right? So it's, as you grow up, things change in your life. So I think it's very important to make those decisions when you're ready. But like we said, it's to educate yourself. I've started to see most 16-year-olds now that are high-end players all have agents or advisors. And I would say a good amount of 15-year-olds, the higher end players, I would say do, or a lot of them are in the process of informing themselves, talking with different families, talking with different agencies, and gathering information to make a decision when they're ready to make that decision. So I don't think there's necessarily an age appropriate. I mean, I wouldn't say 10 years old or 12 years old, anything like that. But when you start getting into the level where maybe you're a year away from moving, or maybe it's you're now in juniors, or you're trying to get there, I think that's when you can start having conversations about it.
Cool. Awesome. Few more here. My son, so it's from Wade. My son is eligible for the OHL draft next year. Are there any specific things to consider related to the draft and player contract? Any thoughts on that?
My opinion on that would just be, the OHL, those leagues, the player contracts are pretty standard. It's basically a league-wide contract. There's not too many different things that you can change in there. If you have a good advisor or a good agent, they'll know exactly, what to look for and where to sign and all of that. But it's at that age, it's pretty standard. There's a couple things you can kind of play with or possibly tweak. But besides that, it's obviously the school package is very important. And that's something definitely to read about, get informed about, and know where you are, depending on how many games you play, how many years you're under contract there. It all affects your schooling post-playing career. So I would definitely, follow up and get information regarding that when it comes to that.
Sure. All right. Mason asked, and this probably came off of one of the questions you answered earlier, but how do you find that advisor you can trust or build relationships with? Like they said, not even sure where to start looking. So do you have any advice on that piece?
Yeah. So, I think there's a couple ways to go about it. One, it's who you know. Are there people in the hockey community around where you are that maybe there's a player that's older, or somebody kind of in your corner that has an advisor or agent that can maybe get you in touch to open up conversations? Then there's agencies reaching out to you, and maybe there's no past history with them. And that's where you have to develop a relationship. It's not just a phone call or a Zoom call saying, hey, we want to represent you. It's a Zoom call to introduce ourselves, to start a dialogue, to help parents or, the kid feel comfortable with myself or, with our group. Because if a family or a player isn't comfortable, there has to be serious trust in this. And you have to develop that relationship. And if you can't do that, it's not going to work. So I think, the agent or the advisor needs to be willing to have conversations with you. You're not going to have this kid come on day one. It might be a couple months until a family says, hey, we really feel like this is the right decision for us. And then you go down that process as well. So it's really informing families, building relationships and trust, and trying to be an extension of their family to help their child or that player in their career.
Love that. Someone just said, thank you very much for this, and your responses to the questions have been fantastic. And I would agree, like you're putting thought into this, and you're taking time out of your day, and I know how busy you are. So we do appreciate it. Few more questions, but I just want to give that huge shout out and let you know that it's awesome. And I'm actually learning a ton. When I was growing up, I did have a family advisor right after I committed to play college hockey at Minnesota State. But at that point, like it was just it was still different, right? Like I just didn't know about what was going on, and didn't have anyone in my corner to really help me make those decisions. So I appreciate you taking the time and coming on here and doing this. But Steve asked a good question, and I don't know how deep you want to dive into it. But there does seem to be a lot of agencies out there that seem to be looking for like, hey, we'll do this and this for this amount of money, versus like what you've been talking about, right? Where you want to build that trust and build a relationship and see if you're the right fit. But the question is, are these organizations that claim to be able to place you and get you in front of college coaches legitimate? The cost seems high for a few phone calls.
I agree. I would say to that it depends on what's their service. What are they delivering, right? What are they doing on a day-to-day basis to make their cost X to make it seem, fair, right? If an agent says, hey, we're going to charge this player X amount of dollars or $0, there's maybe a difference, right? And I say that in the sense of the guy who maybe doesn't hear from his agent every two months, right? There's a lot of guys that are in those situations, and that would be concerning to me. So you got to do your research. You have to, again, sounds like a broken record, but build that relationship and ask, how are you actively helping that player? What do you do on a weekly or bi-weekly basis? Are you sending information? Are you sending quotes? Are you sending news articles? Are you sending broken down video clips? Like I mentioned, there's a guy that works for us. His name's Denver Manders. He works under Daryl Belfry with the Toronto Maple Leafs as their head skill coach. He breaks down our clients' videos, and that's something that I wish I had when I was growing up, right? Just getting a video, maybe it's a minute long, but it's detailed and slowed down, and there's different angles and arrows. And then it's just having those relationships where I want a player to call me because they're comfortable speaking with me, or maybe I become their first phone call, and maybe it's not their old coach or their parent when they're older, right? When they're 18, 19 years old and they're after a game and they're frustrated because their coach didn't play them, or they're maybe looking for a different opportunity that they're not getting, and being in their corner advocating for them.
Love that. All right. We're going to do like 2 more questions. This one's a great question. I love this, especially coming from Arizona, where it's a very non-traditional hockey market, and there just wasn't a ton of opportunity to play on, those higher end teams. But this question is, as far as getting into a Division I program, is going to a private school such as Avon more beneficial than going to a regular school and playing for AAA or on an elite team? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it all depends. I mean, if you look over, let's just say the States, you have a lot of prep schools, you have a lot of split season teams, you have AAA teams that are more dominant than others historically. I think there's, like, you look in Minnesota, you have Minnesota high school hockey. On the East Coast, you have a lot of prep schools. In the Midwest, you have a lot of AAA programs. And I know I'm probably missing a bunch here, but just as an example, if you look, let's just use the NHL draft, you have kids pulled out of all of those leagues every year, right? So I think a lot of it has to do, if you're a dominant player and you're from Arizona and you're 14 years old, maybe before you're 15 year, maybe you think about trying to go and play in the Midwest to have more exposure to maybe play on the US national team or get drafted in the WHL or the OHL. Those are all different factors specifically for what your career path may be. You're going to have option A here and option B here, and they're 2 different avenues. But with that being said, you hear it. If you're good enough, they'll find you. I don't think there's one right route or path that's going to determine someone's future. But I think that having the right information and knowing, okay, I want to do this, but how do I get to that? I think that's really important to understand the different variables that can go into that.
For sure. It would be cool to see a breakdown of the NHL draft and not see like, because normally it's like they played for this team, whatever they were on the year before, whether it's a national program or the OHL or whatever.
Right.
It's cool to see like, okay, they played their youth hockey here. They did this here. And so
Absolutely. And you can probably look down a list of players that played in their hometown, their AAA team, whatever it may be, until they were 14, 15. And then that's right around the time where you can go play juniors your first year. You know, that's the first year of NTDP, NAHL, USHL, whatever it may be, where if you want to get drafted and you're in an area or on a team that maybe isn't as successful, well, maybe you can be the best player on that team, or you go to a different area where maybe there's better competition or whatever. There's a lot of factors that can go into it. It's just important to understand, different paths.
absolutely. All right, last question here. And I like this one because it's so simple, but usually get goalies overlooked. Do goalies need specialized advisors?
I don't think that they need specialized advisors, but I think that they need connections or the opportunity to work with and be in touch with professionals or goalies that have experience in that field, right? I mean, I think it would be important for me, if I was representing a goalie, to be able to give that goalie access to somebody, whether it's a current friend of mine that's a goalie playing professionally, or it's an old coach, or asking somebody that I know who works with goalies specifically to do a video breakdown or hop on a Zoom call and just ask questions and show different options and make the player think differently than what they're used to, right? Everybody is used to hearing the same thing from their coaches or parents or teammates. But what we try to do through video is just show different options. So you did this, but if you made this move or took this angle, now you opened up this and that. So I think goalies, that I think a lot of people would argue that you do need one. And a lot of people would argue vice versa. So I think it's a little bit of preference, but I think if you're with the right group or having the right representation, that's what's most important.
Love that. Before I jump in, I'm gonna post some links in the chat here, but are there any final words or closing thoughts or anything that you want to leave our audience with?
No, I really appreciate this. Again, I think it's just important to educate yourself. Unfortunately, I think there are some people, just like anything else in life, that are maybe in a business for the wrong reason or in a little bit over their head, or, I don't want to say taking advantage of anybody, but, there are some families or parents that never grew up in the hockey world. So it's important to just educate yourself and ask questions and don't be afraid, if you're approached by somebody, to listen and to take that phone call and hear what they have to say and say thank you and take that information to another phone call. So, I hope I was able to educate or help you guys out a little bit and give you some insight on this. And if I can help in any way moving forward, please don't hesitate to reach out.
For sure. And I put the Kaizen Instagram link and
Yeah.
their website in the chat. And then I also put Kenny's Instagram link in there as well. One super good follow, Kenny Ryan's Instagram, just the stuff he posts about hockey, and it'll make you a better hockey player. So go and check that out. There will be a follow-up email with just some more information, and these links will be in there as well. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, we appreciate you having on, and make sure you're reaching out. And this was super informative and something like I said, there's so many things that I'm doing now with hockey that I wish I had when I was younger. And I mean, that just goes to show we're leaving this game better than we found it. So again, a lot of thank yous in the chat, and we appreciate having you on.
Well, I appreciate it. And just like you said, leaving the game better. And, like when we were younger, wishing we had it. It's exactly why I wanted to get involved on this side, is just to try and, do things the way that I think they should be done. And, I think you're somebody that's trying to leave a mark on this game. So I appreciate you having me on, and looking forward to the future.
Thank you very much. Good luck with that 1-year-old. I'm sure they're running around the house right now.
I appreciate it.
Take care and we'll talk soon. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Everyone have a great night.